I want to quickly talk to you about banks that pull TransUnion this year. And if you have a great TransUnion score and you like to really take your chance with those banks, here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So, the very first bank that actually pulls TransUnion this year is actually US Bank. And what we love about US Bank is that, first of all, you have a bank that has a constellation of credit cards. In terms of loans, they're very generous too. They will give you up to $50,000, and if you have the right financials, they will give you up to $100,000. But you got to have the right relationship with them, and you got to be with them for 5 years for them to actually raise the amount the amount of loan they will give you. But in terms of credit card limits, loan lines of credit, usually it's around $50,000. Okay, and so what we love about actually a U.S. bank is that they are very fast too. I mean, in terms of credit cards, they will approve you within 2 days. For loans, they will approve you within 24 to 48 hours. So you have a very fast bank. Now, somebody might say, well, U.S. Bank is kind of cool, but they're not national. That's true. U.S. Bank is not national. So when you actually consider U.S. Bank, you got to really think about an element of geo restriction. In other words, U.S. Bank is only available in 28 states. I mean, I say only, but I mean 28 states. That's more than half, and that's kind of cool. Okay, so you have 28 states, and the cool thing here is that you basically have a 24/7 support. You have you have a physical presence that's pretty good, and the thing is, they are growing their physical presence also. So their retail footprint is actually growing real fast. So if you are thinking about a bank that pulls TransUnion this year, I want you to think about U.S. Bank, and we love the fact that they have close to 2,000 branches. Okay, I mean the thing is that of course you might say, well, $50,000, that's not really too high, but hey, listen, $50,000 is $50,000. Now other banks might give you $100,000, that's for sure, but 50 grand in terms of a credit limit, that's really fantastic. And so in terms of TransUnion, U.S. Bank usually they will approve you if you have a minimum FICO score of 600. So if your TransUnion credit score is around 600 minimum, and you have good financials, like you have a job, and you have been with the bank for a while, like 3 months, 6 months, then you actually stand a chance to get a good approval. So that's kind of cool. If you're looking for banks that pulls TransUnion this year, I want you to consider Regions Bank. And Regions Bank is really cool also. I mean, we love the fact that Regions actually, Regions will give you 50 grand maximum in loans and lines of credit. Credit cards, they are around 40,000, $30 to $40,000. Okay, but Regions Banks is actually could be a great option for you if you live in the South, Midwest, or Texas. Okay, so the thing is that Regions is actually in terms of a geographical footprint, Regions actually has a less prominence than U.S. Bank. Okay, I mean, we think of Regions Bank as a tier 3 bank, whereas U.S. Bank is a tier 2 bank. I mean, tier 1 being the Chase of the world, the Bank of Americas, the Wells Fargo, and the Citi. Okay, so that's really important to really think about that. One thing we love about Regions is that they actually have like their loans, their credit cards, and their lines of credit are really good, and they also have a great business section. Okay, so if you have if you're looking for a business loan or a business line of credit, Regions will also work with you. Okay, and it's really fast to open an account with them as well. I mean, a checking account or savings account, that's really fantastic. So they have also this is a regular bank, so they have savings, they have CDs, they have money markets, they have check-ins, but Regions actually kind of similar to U.S. Bank. They will consider your application for a credit card or loan or line of credit if you have a minimum FICO score on your TransUnion file of 600. So minimum 600, and you got to have a good financial situation too. You got to have a job. So a job, they actually they start you at $1,000 in terms of salary, so monthly salary. So that's kind of cool. But overall, we love the fact that Regions is really fast too. I mean, their customer service can be improved. I mean, we've heard a lot of not a lot, but we've heard a few complaints in the last 4 years, especially during COVID, that their customer service was not really strong. So this is something to really think about. But overall, as I said a little earlier, Regions Banks actually is headquartered in Alabama, so Birmingham, and they actually serve customers across the South, Midwest, and Texas. So if you are in that geography, You will love regions for that. The third bank I want to share with you that pulls TransUnion this year is Huntington Bank, and Huntington Bank is actually it's in terms of geo restriction, Huntington Bank is actually geo restricted as well because they are only available in 11 states. I mean, you want to compare and contrast that to U.S. Bank that was giving you 28 states, and so Huntington Bank has 11 states. So I'm going to give you the 11 states. You have Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. And what we love about Huntington is that Huntington actually doesn't offer as many credit cards and lines of credits, and also I mean they're not as comprehensive, if you will, as generous as U.S. Bank. But listen, this is a serious contender, okay? And the cool thing is that they will consider you for a credit card or a line of credit or a loan if you have a minimum FICO score at around 625. And Huntington Bank actually loves relationship. They want you to really build a relationship with them for them to actually consider you for a line of credit, okay, or a credit card for that matter, okay. We love the fact that basically if you're thinking about Huntington Bank, I mean, you really want to think about comprehensiveness. This is actually a standard classic bank, okay. So they have a checking account, savings account, CDs, and they also offer, by the way, they have a strong business section also. So if you have a business, if you have a single member LLC, a multi-member LLC, an S corporation, C corporation, or what have you, and you're trying to really have a relationship with Huntington Bank, you will love it. And one thing we love about the Huntington Bank is that they will assign somebody to you if you are trying to have if you're trying to get a loan, right, and or a credit card for that matter. They will actually will assign a personal banker to you, okay? Especially if you have a longer relationship with them. In other words, here is a bank who really wants to understand what's really causing you to ask for a loan in the first place, to have a little bit of a background about your situation, so that they can really see the best product for you. So we love that a lot. I mean, it's not like they're trying to be nosy or whatever, but it's one of those things where you just have to make sure that you live in the geography that actually Huntington Bank covers. The fourth bank I want to share with you in terms of banks that pull TransUnion is BMO. And BMO Harris Bank is a fantastic bank. I mean, this is a bank that's been around for a while. And the cool thing is that they actually have more coverage than U.S. Bank. Can you believe that? I mean, see, the funny thing is a lot of folks don't know that BMO is actually in terms of footprint, in terms of brick and mortar branches, BMO is actually ahead of U.S. Bank. The thing is that BMO doesn't have the prominence in terms of branding as U.S. Bank, that's for sure. But BMO is constantly building its footprint real fast. They actually bought a bank not long ago in California. So now here is a bank who's really moving. That's what we want. You want a bank that's really moving, that's on the move, right? And that's kind of cool. So basically, BMO actually has branches in 32 states. 32 states. That's pretty good. I mean, the bank that they actually acquired in California not long ago is Bank of the West. Okay, so Bank of the West was a biggie back in the days, and so now BMO actually is a strong contender at the national level. They are considered a tier 2 bank now. That's how we look at them. That's how we analyze them. So BMO actually will take care of you. They actually pull TransUnion this year, and they'll consider your application if you have a minimum FICO score of 610. 610, and if you have an existing relationship with BMO, that's even better. That's really, really better, and that's what you should look for. So BMO will give you a minimum credit. I mean, not minimum, maximum line of credit around 50, and they might go to $75,000 if you have a strong relationship with them and you have a strong financial position yourself, right? In terms of revenue, in terms of cash inflows versus cash outflows. In other words, if your DTI is pretty strong, if your CUR is pretty strong, BMO will work with you. And BMO actually has a constellation of credit products, including credit cards, including loans, including lines of credit. So that's kind of cool. And on the checking side, they have checking, savings, CDs, money market, and they also have a strong business checking offer. So that's kind of cool. We love BMO for all their comprehensive offer. Fantastic. If you are looking for a bank that pulls TransUnion this year, I want you to consider Fifth Third Bank. And the thing about Fifth Third is that this is a bank that has a lot of capabilities. Okay, we love the fact that the Fifth Third is actually even though Fifth Third is not as present is not present in as many states as BMO, for instance, because Fifth Third is in one third is present in one third of states where BMO is, because Fifth Third actually covers 12 states, and they have about 1,100 to 1,250 branches. Okay, and but the cool thing about Fifth Third is that Fifth Third can actually give you a loan all the way to $100,000. Okay, and Fifth Third is pretty flexible also in terms of FICO score. So they will start looking at your application for a loan or credit card if you have a FICO score minimum of 590, 590, 580, 590. So that's really the neighborhood, the FICO neighborhood where Fifth Third like to hang out at, okay, so to speak. So what we love about Fifth Third is that in addition to loans and lines of credits and even credit cards for that matter, they actually have also all kinds of regular banking products, okay, from checking to savings to CD to money market account. In terms of credit cards, actually Fifth Third doesn't have a like their array of credit cards is not as diverse as what you have maybe with US Bank. That's just what it is. But what we love about Fifth Third is that they actually like to work one-on-one with their customers. So they'll make sure that they actually ask you all kinds of questions so they can give you the best products that you might need for your specific situation. So that's kind of cool. And also, Fifth Third is really strong when it comes to fees too. I mean, their fees are among the lowest in the nation. So, I mean, that's on the bank. That's on the banking side. So, if you're interested in having like a checking account with them or savings account, and you're looking to actually lower your fees, that's an important element to think about. Okay, but overall, fantastic offer, and a bank that actually has been pulling TransUnion for the last 20 years. So basically, Fifth Third is actually is mainly concentrated in the New England and East Coast area. So that's one thing to really think about. If you're looking for a bank that pulls TransUnion, I want you to think about Capital One. Now, Capital One is a biggie, that's for sure. I mean, Capital One is not a biggie in terms of banking, but they're a big in terms of credit products, because Capital One is primarily known, as you know, for what, credit cards, and so I mean they used to give personal loans back in the days. Now they have stopped giving personal loans, especially around COVID the COVID period, right? So nowadays they want to focus more on the banking side, but also on the credit card side. And of course, when it comes to credit cards, you can't really compete with Capital One. I mean, they have a constellation of credit cards, all kinds of credit cards, and Capital One will pull TransUnion, and they actually will start you around 575 or 600. So that's really good. And the way we analyze Capital One is that Capital One is at least the way we see it, it's more of an online bank than a real traditional brick and mortar bank. Okay, granted, this bank is actually the ninth largest bank in the United States based on consolidated assets. And after the acquisition of Discover Bank, even though the acquisition hasn't been acted yet, but the thing is that here is a bank that's actually growing. Okay, but again, after the acquisition of Discover, it doesn't make Capital One a behemoth when it comes to banking. It makes Capital One a behemoth in terms of payment processing, in terms of credit card, and so on and so forth. Okay, but in terms of banking, pure assets, pure consolidated assets, Capital One is still 9, 10, depending on how you look at it. But what we love about Capital One is that they actually can approve you for a consequential, a very high credit limits, okay, for when it comes to credit cards. And also on the Discover side, Discover actually has a personal loan. So if you want to apply for a personal loan, maybe after the acquisition, you might actually qualify for I mean, maybe they will keep the Capital One, they will keep the personal loan offer, and they will actually will rebrand it under Capital One. So that's a possibility. The the last bank I want to share with you that actually pulls TransUnion this year is actually Synchrony, and Synchrony is actually a bank that is I mean, this here is a bank that kicks ass like crazy, but nobody hears about them. I mean, they have a lot of credit cards out there, but what they do is that they usually do they have branding partnerships, and they do some kind of like the thing about the Synchrony is that, of course, you might say, well, they focus on poor credit cards, right? They do not have a strong banking offer. But the thing is that with Synchrony, they pull TransUnion, and they can actually start qualifying you for a credit card as low as 300. So that's really an important element to think about. And Synchrony Bank is actually a division of Synchrony Financial, which is a publicly traded financial services company. So this is a company that has been around for a while now. So in addition to banking products, Synchrony offers credit cards and both its own and co-branded with retail partners, as well as payment plan programs for multiple major retailers. Okay, and so that's an important element. And one thing I want to say is that when you think about Synchrony, you got to really ask yourself: do you want to have a checking account, a savings account with them, or just the credit cards? Because Synchrony actually doesn't have lines of credit. They don't offer lines of credit or credit card. I mean, or loans for that matter. But they offer credit cards, right? And the credit cards, unfortunately, the limits are not that high. I mean, that makes sense because when you look at the requirements they have in terms of FICO score, I mean, with 300, you're not going to have the $50,000 that you have with U.S. Bank or BMO for that matter. So with Synchrony, the maximum you can expect is $10,000, 10 grand, okay, and that's if you're lucky. And if you want to have if you want to have a shot at the 10 grand, you want to actually build a strong relationship with Synchrony, the bank itself, because Synchrony, the bank itself, might give you a higher limit than if you were to go with a branded credit card. If you were to actually apply for a branded credit card, or you were actually were applying for like a payment plan at a major retailer. So the limit actually are higher if you speak directly to Synchrony. One thing for sure, you also have to make sure that you are in the right geography, because the Synchrony actually doesn't have a national coverage. So you got to be in the specific geography for Synchrony to actually work with you. I mean, we've heard that the bank is trying to position itself nowadays as an online bank, and they started doing this transition during COVID because they realized that, for them to survive as a bank, they need to actually do the switch from brick and mortar to a purely digital bank. So, but that transition hasn't really morphed yet, hasn't really hasn't been finalized yet. So they're still working on it. But the cool thing is that once it's done, which should be maybe in 1, 2, or 3 years, you're gonna have a very strong online bank, and Synchrony can actually offer a full array of a fuller array of services and credit products. So here are our closing remarks. In today's conversation, I spoke to you about banks that pull TransUnion, and so I gave you the overview. So we have U.S. Bank, Regions Bank, Huntington Bank, BMO Harris Bank. We have Fifth Third Bank. You have Capital One, and last but not the least, you have Synchrony. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.